I'd like to ask you a question. What does it take to change the world? Money? Power? Well, what if I told you somebody did so just by putting on a pair of Apple earbuds? This is the story of how a young woman, her dream, her friends, and an organization helped save thousands of lives. This is the story of Ironmouse. Now, if you're at all familiar with streaming or VTubing in general, chances are you've at least heard of Ironmouse. But for those of you who haven't, she's a Puerto Rican streamer and singer, best known for her sense of humor, her amazing voice, the absolute catalog of models that she has, and her dedication to charity work. As of August 2025, she has over 2 million followers on Twitch. She's been featured in music videos, online articles, mainstream news, documentaries, and has even visited Congress. So yeah, in short, she's a pretty big deal. But it's important to remember that behind all those avatars, there's a real human being. And her journey here has not been an easy one, which is where I'd like to start.
I've always been. I like to explain it like I'm an extrovert who was forced to live an introverted lifestyle.
While Mouse is a very private person, we do know some details about her life from her appearance on the podcast Undiagnosed. Right from the beginning, Mouse's childhood was a constant battle with sickness. While she was adventurous and curious as a child, her parents were understandably very protective of her. After frequently seeing specialists, she was initially misdiagnosed as having allergies and asthma, and she would often have to miss school. This, along with being told that she was different from other kids, gave her the mindset that she had to work much harder. While she didn't get to do sports or PE like other kids her age, her parents helped refocus her passion and frustrations into a new area, that being music and performing arts. And after seeing the movie The Fifth Element, she dreamed of becoming an opera singer. And when puberty hit, things started looking up. She began getting sick less often and was able to live fairly normally. She was able to attend a performing arts school where she studied on her opera goal and even got into breakdancing. Like doctors had told her since she was a kid, it seemed like she'd just finally outgrown her sickness. That is, until she turned 18. That's when her health took a sudden and severe decline, and while she tried to finish school, it reached the point where one of her teachers recommended that she drop out, which, after being hospitalized for 2 or 3 months, she eventually did. With increasingly frequent hospitalizations, surgeries, and expensive medication, her parents were working hard to support her, even though they were already at retirement age. And seeing the emotional toll this took on her family, Mouse was desperate to find answers. And one day, after she was able to get in touch with an old immunologist she'd seen when she was a kid, she finally got it. All her life, she'd been battling a condition called Common Variable Immunodeficiency, or CVID. And sadly, all this is a very common experience.
On average, it takes around 9 to 15 years of untreated illness for a patient to be diagnosed with a primary immunodeficiency. It's estimated that around 70 to 90% of those with a PI have yet to receive a proper diagnosis.
CVID is classified as a primary immunodeficiency. See, there are 5 classes of antibodies, or immunoglobulins, within the human immune system, each serving a different role. CVID is characterized by low levels of immunoglobulin types A, G, and M, all 3 of which are crucial to protecting the body from pathogens. At these low levels, the results are increased susceptibility to infection, as well as chronic lung disease, digestive disorders, sinusitis, ear infections, among many other issues. CVID is one of the more frequent forms of PI, affecting 1 in 25,000 people on average, but it's not the only. The Immune Deficiency Foundation has identified over 500 different types, most of which are rare and vary in cause and severity. But back in the mid-2010s, very little of this was common knowledge. Mouse had never even heard of CVID, and when she Googled it after she came home, information was sparse at best, mostly coming from groups like the IDF. Because her immunoglobulin levels were so low, her doctor recommended she undergo treatment starting the next day, that treatment being immunoglobulin replacement therapy, or plasma therapy. This comes in the form of infusions that have to be carried out regularly, sometimes on a monthly or even weekly basis, for the rest of a patient's life. Supportive treatments may involve vaccinations with inactive antigens and preventative antibiotic therapy. The exact specifics really come down to the severity of the condition and the patient themselves. And because information at the time was so sparse, many facilities weren't properly equipped and staff not trained for the procedure. Mouse initially didn't receive pre-meds, and her medication was administered far too quickly, resulting in an extreme reaction. Not to mention, as with many medical treatments, her body wasn't used to it. Thankfully, after some adjustment time and tweaking the dosage and schedule, it did help, but there's no synthetic substitute for plasma therapy. It can only come from volunteer donors, and the volume required is quite high. While one blood donation can save 3 lives, it takes around 10 to 40 plasma donations just for one plasma therapy dose. And a PI patient typically needs the equivalent of around 130 plasma donations every year. Thankfully, plasma donations are fairly easy to perform. In the US, federal law allows donations to be carried out twice a week, so long as there's a 24-hour period in between. In contrast, blood donations can only be done safely about once every 56 days. But without significant attention from the public or policymakers, there were considerably less donations being made, and plasma therapy at the time was quite expensive. And as is sadly common with many conditions, especially rare or lesser known ones, insurance companies didn't offer coverage. They would often dismiss her on the grounds that she's too young, or we don't think she needs this. But there was one fully informed group that did help her, the Immune Deficiency Foundation. It was through them that Mouse met others with similar conditions, and could finally feel like she wasn't alone. She joined support groups and met people who understood exactly what she was going through. And while there's relief in knowing that, it was also a bittersweet feeling knowing that others had to go through the same things as her. And what she was going through was rough. There were stretches of time where she missed treatment simply because her family couldn't afford it, and her health continued to decline. She caught things like shingles and Mycobacterium avium complex, the latter of which once caused her to cough so hard that she cracked a rib. As a result of all this, her GI tract and respiratory system were severely damaged. One particularly severe throat infection left her unable to speak for an entire year. And when it came back, the damage done to her vocal cords left her voice now at a higher pitch. Between this, a long list of supplemental medications and their side effects, being unable to go outside or have any physical contact with her family, and being bedridden for so long that it caused her muscles to atrophy, all this severely affected her mental health and self-image as well. While Mouse never lost her passion for music, she was convinced that she'd never get to fulfill her dream, especially after she was hospitalized with a serious infection that she and her family were worried might be the one. But her sister never lost hope. And during one of their conversations in that time, she told Mouse that she couldn't give up on her dream, and asked her if she could have any wish granted, what would it be?
I just want to be a faceless singer. I don't want people to know who I am. Because at the time I was getting into something called utaite. Basically there's like a genre of music where it's like you have a persona and you never show your face, but you perform music and you upload it online. So I was like, I would love to do that. And she was like, well, you never know. You might be able to do that.
And luckily, she did make it out of the hospital. And this is where things started to change. See, it was around that time that sites like Twitch and YouNow were exploding in popularity, as was the concept of virtual YouTubers. The earliest and most famous of whom was Kazuna Ai, who became one of Mouse's inspirations, and so she decided to start streaming as a virtual YouTuber herself. While she didn't have money for an expensive rig or model, her friend told her about the program FaceRig, which would track her camera movements and let her stream using an anime girl avatar. Her first stream was on August 4th, 2017, with that FaceRig, a pair of Apple earbuds, and a laptop that would overheat and run games at just a few FPS.
Horrible. It was so hot. I ended up getting a lap desk because it would overheat from me like streaming for like 1 hour. And I remember thinking, man, this is it was like one of the happiest moments of my life starting streaming, because even though I was doing it from like this horrible setup from my bed, at least I felt like I was finally taking control of my life.
Yeah.
Now, because of her health issues, her early streams were very infrequent, with weeks or even months between them. They would also only last about an hour or two due to her exhaustion. Looking back on it now, compared to where she is today, it's kind of crazy to imagine. But it's true, so don't ever be ashamed of how you got started. Her early audiences may have been small, but they were there. They were people who wanted to watch her and who enjoyed spending time with her, even before she was the Ironmouse. In late 2019, she switched to her Season 1 model, establishing her famous pink demon look, something that she designed herself. She initially didn't want to talk about why her streams were so infrequent and short, but one day, her IV machine started beeping, and without a noise gate on her mic, everyone could hear it. This is what finally led to her opening up and explaining her health issues. And despite her fears about people being put off by it or judging her for it, she received nothing but support from her audience. In fact, after she felt free to open up about it and really talk about her machines and the care she needs, she got tons of kind messages from viewers who were also dealing with their own health issues. And speaking of health issues, another sharp turn hit in early 2020 as the world was sent into lockdown because of the pandemic. Mouse's family had to remain especially isolated, as immunocompromised patients like her were especially high risk. They were left unemployed, couldn't see their friends, couldn't even go to church, which they loved doing. But the day they lost their jobs was also when Mouse met someone who would help change her life.
Oh my god, okay. March 3rd, 2020, average viewers 44. And then March 8th, average viewers 64. And then, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready for the change? March 8th, average viewers 64. March 9th, average viewers 113. March 11th, average viewers 373. So I went from the week before, average viewers 44 to 373 the next week. That was when I met Mel. And it was like, holy shit, what the what changed? Mel rated me.
Project Melody was another upcoming VTuber. She'd made her debut the previous year in July 2019. While she's known for her adult content,
I forgot to download Lethal Daddy. Leather Daddy. Lethal Kingdom.
she's also a Twitch streamer and an avid educator on matters like sexuality, relationships, and emotional health. She also became a fan of Mouse. And on that day, Melody sent her a raid. For those who don't know, a raid is something you can do on Twitch where you send your audience to another streamer when your own stream is wrapping up. In 1 week, Mouse's audience grew from a few dozen to a few hundred. And those numbers just kept going up, especially after her appearance on an Animal Crossing collab with her friends.
I got that bitch with the rug that she's like, hey, you want to buy a mystery rug for like $5 million, you fucking bitch? And I was just like, what? Why can't I get the cool sellers? Why I gotta get the mystery rug people?
On May 15th, she reached partner status on Twitch and could finally start making money to help her family. An opportunity that couldn't have come at a better time, as her parents were very worried about financial issues. With everyone stuck inside, this was the time when streaming and VTubers exploded in popularity, and her audience continued to grow. She could not only pay for medication, but pay their bills, and even helped her family find a new place to live. Thanks to her, her parents could finally rest, and she could finally start supporting them after all they'd done for her. That's true familial love right there. And she received just as much love and support from her community.
Thank you guys so much for helping me. You guys make me feel so normal. I've lived so many years being embarrassed and feeling ashamed about being who I am and about my body not working properly. But you guys help me feel so normal. So thank you for helping me feel human. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Ah! Thank you.
And at probably the biggest turn for her career at the time, she announced that she'd become a member of the VTuber talent agency VShojo on November 24th, with the promise that nothing would change for her, that she would always be Ironmouse. And of course, I can't leave out her most famous friendship, that being with Connor Cahoon, aka CDogVA, a Welsh streamer living in Japan. He first heard about Mouse from one of his co-hosts on their Trash Taste podcast. While he wasn't initially interested in VTubers, their growing popularity led to him deciding to learn more about them, and so he spent months lurking in Mouse's streams. While their early conversations were sparse, they eventually decided to collab together on a video, where they ended up talking for 5 hours straight, which really kindled their friendship, and it's endured ever since. And when Connor said he'd like for her to come to Japan sometime, Mouse decided to explain her condition to him.
So I was like, I can't go to Japan because I have a condition. And then he was like, what condition do you have? And then I told him everything. And I've never done that before. I just straight up told him, I was honest from the beginning, and I was like, I have CVID, and I explained to him all this stuff. He's like, I have never heard about this before, and he cried. He cried for me. I remember the first cyclothon, we were talking, and he was telling me he wanted to do a cyclothon, and I was like, "Oh my god, why?" And he was like, "'Cause I want to raise money for charity." And I'm like, how long are you gonna do it for?" And he told me, "Oh, a few days and whatever." And I didn't want to like ask him because I figured it was some cause there or whatever. And I was like, "Okay, so what charity are you gonna do it for?" He goes, "Oh, I'm doing it for the IDF." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "What do you mean, why? Are you not happy?" And I'm like, "I am happy, but I just wanna know what brought this on." And he's like, "I just want I just wanna have a beer with you one day."
Now, I'd like to zoom out for a moment and discuss the number of factors that went into the growth of plasma donations over the last few years. One is that the plasma industry has grown massively, as it's not just used for therapy to help PI patients. Many of the over 2,000 proteins found in human blood plasma can be used for a wide variety of medical applications, in everything from treatments for clotting issues to adult-onset neurological damage caused by iron accumulation. There have also been many new forms of PI discovered since the time of Mouse's diagnosis, and it's estimated that many new applications for plasma donation could emerge in the next few years.
Potential uses for plasma therapy include treatments for Alzheimer's, liver cirrhosis, secondary immunodeficiencies, MG, multiple sclerosis, Kawasaki disease, and certain forms of cancer.
But there are still challenges going forward. While the US has seen major improvements in their plasma donations, the EU's donation system is still lagging behind, as there's comparatively less incentive to do so. There's still room for improvement, and countries such as Denmark and Belgium have set new goals for the 2030s. There are also numerous other disorders being discovered all the time that can benefit from plasma donations or from products derived from it. New agencies and organizations have also emerged in the last few years, all of whom have been investing massive amounts of research funding into this field.
The IVIG market was valued at $8.93 billion in 2017, $11.2 billion by 2022, and is projected to reach $20.5 billion by 2031.
But the champions here have been the IDF and people like Mouse. See, while not an official statement, even the IDF has given Mouse credit for the rise in plasma donations, and it's not hard to see why.
Plasma donations have gone up. That's also true. There's been an increase in plasma donations, and they were like, "Mouse, we don't want to say that it's you, but you know, I mean, it's very convenient that it started happening around this time now." Yeah, they were like, "We need to find a way to measure." They said that they're trying to figure out a way to measure how much impact me telling people to donate plasma has made on the plasma industry. Yeah, we are. That's what they said. They basically said, "We aren't saying it's you, but we're saying it's you."
For her 4th anniversary in 2021, Mouse held a charity event with a modest goal of $10,000. In 11 hours, she and her community raised over $100,000. A year later, in August 2022, Connor and his friends decided to do their cyclothon for the IDF. In the span of a week, they raised $316,000. In spring 2023, their second cyclothon raised over $500,000. And later in June, Mouse held a record-breaking month-long subathon, where she achieved 312,000 active subscribers and donated half the proceeds to the IDF. She would break the record again in September 2024, where, after a 39-day-long subathon, she reached 326,000 active subscribers. Altogether, just between these two, over $4 million had been raised for the IDF. But this doesn't just come down to money, fame, or subscribers. It comes down to Mouse herself. Her personality, her humor, and her earnest kindness are all deeply engaging. And all of this doesn't even take into account that, by one estimate, Mouse has been an inspiration for over 80% of the English-speaking Vtuber community, many of whom would go on to raise money for other organizations as well. And thanks to friends like Connor, Mouse has been able to go on tours of places she never could have before, and seen things that, at one point, she could only really dream of seeing one day. Over the last few years, Mouse has gotten considerably stronger and healthier as well. While she was once confined to her bed, now she's able to walk around her house. In fact, Thanksgiving 2024 was the first time in over 7 years that she was able to join her family to celebrate. Plus, thanks to all the care she's needed, she's very knowledgeable on topics like medicine, which has led to her personal beef with Dr. House and some very interesting pieces of commentary from her reaction videos. The result of all of this has been a positive feedback loop, demystifying the needs of people with chronic illnesses and disabilities. And by helping bring attention to all this is how a landmark decision was made in the United States. The Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. In this act, Section 4134, quote, provides for permanent Medicare coverage of items and services that are needed for in-home administration of intravenous immune globulin, IVIG, for the treatment of primary immune deficiency disease beginning on January 1st, 2024. It also provides additional funding for the Medicare IVIG demonstration program. Thanks to the efforts of people like Mouse, Connor, and their friends, an actual piece of legislation was passed to ensure that people with PIs will be covered for the care that they need. That alone is pretty amazing. But there's more to it than that. When I said she saved thousands of lives, I'm not just talking about healthcare policy. If one person gets the donation they need, or someone decides to start their own new career, it could change their life. If one person finds hope and finds a new path in life, no matter how small, that's something that will always matter. And for a lot of people, that's exactly what Mouse has been.
We are rare creatures, and that's okay.
One thing I do want to do with my streams is, like you, I want to help bring awareness to what I have and like very similar things, because I think it's very, very important. And also to other VTubers that have disabilities or illnesses, whatever. I want to be like you and inspire them to keep being VTubers.
Oh, that's so cute. What the heck? Well, you know what? You're gonna be able to do all those things, and you're gonna be amazing. And I already know you're amazing. I can already tell you're so sweet. What the heck?
Mousy, you know, like, it was like about 3 years ago. Mousy, you remember, like, on Twitter, I bought like $500 worth of Copic marker, and I was like, yeah. And then Mousy was like, yeah, if you, you know, I'm interested in too. I think you commented on that Twitter. And yeah, and you know what, like that moment really changed my life, because like I'm working, because you encouraged me, like, you know, I was able to, you know, like pursue this like Copic marker, and now like I'm working with Copic marker too.
Oh my god, you're working with Copic marker!
Yeah, I got an interview with them, and then I went to their office, and then we took like a YouTube video and stuff like that too. Like
Copic
tutorial.
marker artist!
Yeah, so like, you know, it's all because of you,
I'm so
Ironmouse.
proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of
Thank
you.
you.
Oh
That's
my
so
god.
cute.
I'm so proud of you. Yay!
Thank you.
Hey Ironmouse, my name is Yam Albat. I am a VTuber and violist with the VTuber Symphony Orchestra.
Wait, I think oh my god, I've seen one of their videos. I've seen one of her videos. It was about VTuber design. I watched your video!
I also handled the score preparation for the Music Box of Fate. As a music school graduate of 2021 who never fully got to realize my dream of having my compositions played by a live orchestra due to unfortunate circumstances, the Music Box of Fate project allowed me to use my expertise in symphony orchestra notation to write out the parts played by every individual member of the symphony. Hearing my parts played by the orchestra, and then finally getting to hear the orchestra accompanying Mousy at the Fantastic Reality concert was an experience I will never forget. It was such a joy working with two amazing musicians who I look up to, Daryl and Riku, and of course, knowing that my orchestral contribution to this piece was for Ironmouse specifically was incredibly
so
moving. You are an inspiration to many, Mousy, especially to all the chronically ill VTubers out there. I really appreciate Daryl for giving me this opportunity, and I hope to work on many orchestral-related projects in the future.
More!
Thank you, and take care, Ironmouse.
Thank you! Oh my god, I'm crying!
Whew. And now we come to the most unpleasant part of this whole story. In July 2025, Mouse announced her departure from VShojo, citing that the company had not just failed to pay her and her friends, but it failed to pay over $500,000 that was owed to the IDF. In solidarity, all the other talents quit, and the company soon afterward declared bankruptcy. Now, I'm not going to go into that situation. I was not involved. It's not my place to speak on it. If you want to learn more, get it from the actual people who are involved. It's a lot. But as heartbreaking as it is, there's a silver lining even in this situation. After her announcement, Mouse opened a donation on Tiltify for the IDF, once again asking for a modest donation of $10,000. In less than 2 weeks, donations from other streamers and creators, companies, organizations, and generous people raised over $1.3 million. It was a moment that brought the English-speaking Vtuber community together in a way that I don't think we've ever really seen before. Something that prompted the head of the IDF, Jory Berry, to make a video thanking her personally. And at the start of her new era as an independent VTuber, her community has shown nothing but continuous support. And now, more and more people are discovering her work, like through her amazing piece, Music Box of Fate. I don't believe all of this is just due to her past accomplishments. This kind of solidarity, that's out of love, respect, and admiration for the person behind the model. A person whose decision to start streaming all those years ago has made the world a better place, unambiguously. The future can feel like an uphill climb, but as we've seen, sometimes it just takes one person to get that momentum going, to remind us that even when faced with something like a chronic illness, we can achieve great things. We don't have to define ourselves by our limitations, but our perseverance. Finally, and I know this is a long shot, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Mouse, if you ever see this video, I want you to know that you're amazing. Genuinely. I'm sorry things have been so difficult for you, but I wanted to make this as a reminder of all the good you've done in your long journey, for the people that you've helped, for the people who've been here through it all, and for everyone who's only just recently learned about you. And to be honest, it breaks my heart whenever you talk about yourself like you don't matter, or that you're nothing special. You've done great things, but I don't like measuring people just by their accomplishments. What I admire most about you is your strength, your perseverance, and your kindness. You have genuinely made the world better. You have touched the lives of so many people, people you might never even meet, but who got to meet you, and that's what matters. People, including my best friend. And if I could wish for one thing for you, it would be that someday you'll come to value yourself just as much as your friends and your community value you. Wherever you go from here, we'll be there with you, always. And if you've enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider sticking around for my journey as well. Mouse has really been an inspiration to me, among many others. And if you'd like to see more proof of how the world is getting better thanks to people like Mouse, check out this video here.